If you are watching this right now, it is not by accident. There is something inside your heart that knows you need to hear this. Maybe you are tired of repeating the same mistake. Tired of saying, "This is the last time," and then doing it again. Tired of praying and then falling back into the same sin. And deep inside, there is a voice that whispers, "Something is wrong with me. Why can't I change? Maybe God is disappointed in me." Listen carefully. God is not surprised by your struggle. He is not shocked by your weakness, and He has not walked away from you. But at the same time, He is calling you higher. There is a difference between someone who sins and someone who is comfortable living in sin. Right now, I want you to be honest with yourself. Do you feel pain when you sin? Do you feel conviction? Do you feel that something inside you says, "This is not who I am"? That is not condemnation. That is the Holy Spirit. Because when God lives in you, sin will never feel normal again. But here is where many people get confused. They think the solution is just to try harder. More discipline, more effort, more promises. "I will stop tomorrow. I will be stronger next time. I will do better." And then the same cycle continues. Why? Because sin is not just an action problem. It is a heart problem. And you cannot fight a spiritual battle with only human strength. Let me explain this simply. Imagine you are trying to push a heavy door, but the door is locked from the inside. No matter how hard you push, it will not open. Not because you are weak, but because you are using the wrong method. In the same way, many believers are trying to defeat sin without understanding what is happening inside them. There are 3 things you need to understand. First, your nature. Second, your mind. Third, your connection with God. Let's start with your nature. When you come to Christ, something changes inside you. You are not the same person anymore. But your old habits, your old desires, they don't disappear immediately. So there is a conflict inside you. One part of you wants God, another part pulls you back. That is why you feel this fight. And listen, this fight is not proof that you are lost. It is proof that something new is alive in you. People who don't belong to God don't fight like this. They don't feel conviction. They don't feel broken after sin. But you do. And that matters. Now, let's talk about your mind. Many times, sin begins long before the action. It starts with a thought, a small idea, a small image, a small feeling. And if you stay there, if you entertain that thought, it begins to grow. Then it becomes a desire. Then it becomes an action. And after the action comes guilt. So if you want to stop sinning, you must learn to fight earlier. Not at the moment of the action, but at the level of the thought. You must learn to say, "No, I will not stay in this thought." You must redirect your mind, because what you feed grows. If you feed temptation, it becomes stronger. If you feed your spirit, your strength increases. Now, let's talk about your connection with God. This is the most important part. Many people only go to God after they sin. They fall, then they pray. They fail, then they ask for forgiveness. And yes, God forgives. But that is not the life He wants for you. God does not want to be your emergency solution. He wants to be your daily strength. If your only connection with God is after failure, you will stay in the cycle. But if you walk with Him daily, you will begin to change from the inside. You see, freedom from sin is not just about saying no to sin. It is about saying yes to God consistently. Spend time with Him, even when you feel nothing. Talk to Him, even when you don't feel worthy. Read His Word, even when it feels difficult. Because transformation is not instant. It is a process. Now, listen carefully to this truth. Shame will push you away from God. Grace will bring you closer. The enemy wants you to feel ashamed. He says, "You failed again. Don't pray. You sinned again. Stay away. You are not worthy." But God says something different. "Come to me, even now. Don't run away. Come closer. I already knew, and I still love you." So the question is not, did you fall? The question is, where do you go after you fall? Do you hide? Or do you run to God? Because your direction matters more than your fall. Now let me tell you something strong. You cannot play with sin and expect to be free from it. Some people pray for freedom, but they keep feeding the same temptation. They stay in the same environment. They watch the same things. They talk to the same influences. And then they say, "God, help me." But God is already showing you what to change. If something is pulling you into sin, you must be ready to cut it off. Not slowly, not later, but seriously. Because freedom requires decision. You cannot hold sin with one hand and ask God for freedom with the other. At some point, you must let go. Now, don't misunderstand. This is not about being perfect. It is about being intentional. It is about saying, "I may fall, but I will not stay down. I may struggle, but I will not give up. I may be weak, but I will stay close to God." And here is a powerful truth. The more time you spend with God, the less attractive sin becomes. Because your heart changes. Your desires change. What once controlled you begins to lose its power. Not because you forced it, but because something greater filled you. That is how transformation works. Not only by resisting sin, but by replacing it with God's presence. So if you keep sinning, this is not your end, but it is a warning, a call to go deeper, a call to wake up, a call to stop living on the surface. God is not calling you to religion. He is calling you to relationship. Not rules without life, but a living connection with Him. And when that connection becomes real, everything begins to change. So right now, don't close this message. Take a moment. Be honest with God. Say, Lord, I am tired. I don't want to live like this anymore. I need your help, not just my effort. Change my heart. Change my desires. And then walk with Him. One day at a time. One decision at a time. Because freedom is not always instant, but it is always possible. And listen to this carefully. You are not alone in this fight. You are not abandoned. You are not rejected. God is still working in you. Even now, even in your struggle, even in your weakness. So don't give up. Stay close. Stay honest. Stay connected. And little by little, you will see something beautiful happen. The things that once controlled you will no longer have the same power. And you will look back one day and say, I am not the same person anymore. And that is the work of God in you.